Join former FBI senior forensic examiners Becky Passmore and Stacey Eldridge as they dig into the world of digital forensics, one bite at a time. Now leading their own consulting firms and educating the next generation of cyber sleuths. These badass babes of digital forensics bring sharp insight, real-world case experience, and a dose of humor to the bits and bytes that build today's investigations. From deep dives into business email compromise and ransomware attacks, Becky's specialty, to cracking the complexities of iPhone forensics, Stacey's obsession. This podcast delivers insider knowledge for professionals, students, and true crime techies alike. If you've ever wondered what really happens when the digital trail is all that's left, tune in and start parsing the truth.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Parsing the Truth, one bite at a time. I am your co-host, Stacey Eldridge, and I am joined by my lovely co-host, Becky Passmore.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the next episode.
All right, we've got some spicy digital evidence for you tonight. Becky, what's our spicy digital evidence?
We're going to just jump on the bandwagon of everyone else talking about it.
Yep.
We're going to talk about this Jeffrey Epstein videos that are out there, been provided, and all the information, how it was collected and how it was handled. So we're just going to jump on the bandwagon and talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it was not our intention to get on this bandwagon, but there is just so much stuff going on about it continuously, and we want to talk about why that is, how it should have been done. Becky's going to go through, like, if I was in the FBI, this is how I would have collected evidence and done some of the examination stuff. And then I'm going to walk through the analysis that I did, and we're going to talk about all the things that we're doing to try to figure this out. And then we're going to get to the spiciness at the end. We are going to give you the facts. We're not approaching it from conspiracy theories. We're going to demonstrate what we did. This might be one of those episodes where you want to watch us on Spotify or head on over to YouTube, because we're going to do some screen sharing because there just is so much information we want to show you. Wired started a lot of this stuff. And they had an episode where they said, oh, we're going to be on our podcast and we're going to tell you exactly how we found all this stuff out. And that was truly wah, wah, because they didn't explain anything at all.
But when we talk about using digital forensics tools, when we talk about using versions of tools, and what did that tool display, and was that tool designed to pull out information? And we didn't get any names of tools, any versions of tools. So if we as forensic examiners wanted to go repeat what those people did, we would not be able to do that because we don't even know what tool they used.
Right. They give us nothing.
Nothing.
So we got no secrets. We're going to lay it all out here. So we're going to go back a bit in history, I guess. And we reviewed the OIG report that came out in 2023 that dealt with basically the collection of the evidence. And so this is where I'm going to screen share to start. Let's make it work. Okay. And so some of the background that I think is important to level set was, as shown on my screen, back in 19, on August 8th, they found out about the DVR failure that these prison video cameras were recording on, and it backdated to July 29th. And so we can jump ahead and see that. It's unfortunate because the death, we don't know exactly when, was either late on August 9th or early on August 10th, but they didn't figure out anything about this DVR failure that was causing many cameras to not record until August 8th. And if you go into read some of this information that's in there, there was basically a miscommunication about when this stuff was going to be fixed. They've established in this report that it was known the day before that some of this stuff wasn't working. And then let's get into where Here is some more of the documentation that you need to know. They show that at 7:49 p.m. on August 9th, Epstein was escorted back into his cell. There's lots of great documentation in terms of pictures in here that show where the cameras were, what they show, and things of that nature. So this is worth a read if you're trying to figure out what is looking at what. So here's some of those pictures, for instance. So you can analyze those. More pictures. This is your main view right here. So you can see the yellow camera. This is what you can see in this screen. And then his cell. So you can kind of see him walk across and then he, disappears. So that's when did they originally come and get the DVRs? That's the date I am missing.
So FBI evidence documents revealed that on August 10th, the FBI seized all hard drives contained within the DVR2 system. They returned on the 14th to MCC New York and seized additional DVR2 components. And then on the 15th, they seized the entire DVR1 system. Goes on to talk about the digital forensics analysis unit at Quantico, DFAO. I don't remember how we pronounced it, but
did it used to be Fabio, or is that a different unit? Okay,
it was
okay.
Fabio.
I want to make sure.
Yes.
I still call it Fabio. Okay,
yeah.
I'm old.
The forensic audio visual unit. Yep, I remember that. And so the Quantico, Virginia team received the DVR system on the 16th, where they started to conduct a forensic analysis of the system. And so, according to those reports, the DVR2 did not start successfully. And this unit, digital forensic analysis unit, found that the system contained 3 faulty hard drives and that those 3 drives were repaired by the FBI Advanced Data Recovery Specialist Group. So again, how this was collected and handled, managed is very critical. The preservation of evidence is a key factor, and that includes DVR systems. When I handled DVR systems, we would if we were going to need the entire hard drive, we would clone the drive. So you would take the drive out, you would clone it.
And a clone is different than a forensic image. It's not the same thing.
That's right, because your image is compressed. Your clone is exactly what it says. You could put it back into the system and it's going to run just like a computer system. And what would happen is once you, like any other thing that you connect that is live, I'm gonna call it live, you connect, now you're changing the timestamps, you're changing the information, but that's how you view this data. And so you cannot forensically image it in a compressed state because that's not how a DVR system works. That's not how they are read. And so the whole fact that they had to go back 3 separate times and collect more and more and more, it's a concern of how and who was making these collections because, when you and I were forensic examiners at the FBI, only computer analysis response team, digital forensic examiners were to handle digital evidence. And then if that digital evidence had to be sent off to one of our specialty units, because you have an encryption specialty unit, you have an advanced repair specialty unit, you have a forensic analysis unit, which is actually CART sits under that forensic analysis unit, you send it back. And then the people that are specialized in those areas actually are the ones that would do the work. So just knowing that there was quite a few collections at the time and knowing that some of the equipment didn't work seems to be, concerning here.
And it certainly demonstrates how tricky it is to try to get any evidence off of a DVR system. And I'm certain they were coming from it to a certain degree of the aspect of we need to preserve some of their ability to continue to record videos here in the prison. So they probably thought, let's take the minimum. DVR has the video. We'll take it. Well, it sounds like they just grabbed the hard drives out of it first. Couldn't get anywhere. They went back for the DVR. And then they had to go back a third time to get the others.
And Stacy, let's talk about this. We both know that if you sent me a computer today that was rated and had multiple hard drives in it, and I pulled those hard drives, what's going to happen?
Yeah, it's not going to work quite right anymore
No.
if you just pull them all
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, you're likely going to corrupt something. And I'm not saying that's what happened in this situation. I'm just saying that handling evidence, how evidence is handled, how evidence is preserved is extremely critical in these situations.
Right. If you don't get it preserved right the first time around, who knows what you lost.
That's right. That's
So
right.
what we're saying here is the hard drives should have been cloned, and then the clones would have been put back into the DVR system. But we wouldn't have made just like one clone. There probably would have been two clones and then an image of a clone, and we would have had many, many copies to make sure we're not at risk of losing, best evidence or anything that we can continue to pull from evidence control and continue to work on it.
That's right.
Because we
That's
don't
right.
want to have to go back and ever touch the original hard drives again.
Right. And that's a key point there too, is if you know you're going to have to take the original and clone it, but then you could take the original and also image it because you can restore that to a clone.
Yep.
So then you're not having to deal with the original evidence, the original hard drive, and that's just trying to protect that original and just use your image and your clone to be able to review the data without having to continue to go back to the original evidence.
And so one of the things that have people all in a hullabaloo is because DOJ said we are releasing the raw video. So Becky, let's say we successfully clone our hard drives. We've got a clone in the DVR. We're up and running. What are the options to look at the videos, get videos off? How can we get something that we can examine with our tool?
Well, you definitely could again have a clone. You can have a full data set of that data. You could also select, depending, let's say this, depending on the type of DVR system.
And we could not figure out what the DVR system was. It was not published in that OIG report. I could not find it on the internet. If you know, let us know, and we'll see what we can figure out from that.
Right, because depending on the type of DVR system it is, some DVR systems allow you to take snippets, right? You take a certain time period, starting and ending time period, and extract that out. Some DVR systems will let you plug in a USB device and take out what you need without having to pull the entire hard drive, without having to go through 10-plus-hour video to try and figure out what's going on. So there are ways that to be able to, and I understand that it's the part of the FBI is, their commitment to being having that transparency. I get that. And I would expect that because the FBI is trying to do the right thing. There's no doubt about that. However, when you take and you start moving data around, especially a big, large video, is it raw? Is that data raw? Because if it's raw, then we're going to have some other concerns here.
Well, and what would you consider raw? And maybe everybody has a different definition, and we don't know who told who what. We don't know who produced these videos. I mean, and we'll get to some of that metadata later. We might have an inkling, but so we don't know who did what. Was it FBI computer analysis response team members that made this stuff that was released to the public? Was it somebody in PR who explained that it was a raw video? Did somebody just say raw because they meant raw is unedited? I didn't do anything to it. It visually looks fine. And when I think about it, if you're saying raw to me, I'm thinking this is the video chunk you get straight from the DVR. Now, on some DVR systems, if you've, whether you have it cloned or you're working off of the image and you're putting it into your tool, can you ever see some videos, whether it's a 12-hour video or smaller videos? Is there ever a video where you can grab that video, like as what we're used to dealing with on our computers?
And I think of raw data very much like the unprocessed data that is collected and recorded directly from a source without any manipulation, organization, or analysis. It truly is, I got that hard drive, I cloned that hard drive, here's the raw data. Nothing else has been done to it. That's raw data. Again, terminology when we talk about forensics and technology can get lost in translation. So raw data is definitely something that's unprocessed, not analyzed, not manipulated with, not extractions or snippets taken from it. It is truly how it was collected and then how it was presented.
And I would imagine, I don't know what this DVR is chunking stuff into, but it might very well be a 24-hour long video. Is that why it's
Sure.
rebooting every night at midnight? Because it's got to stop at some point, right? Otherwise, you're going to have like one video file that is 365 days long.
Right.
That seems crazy. And then we could talk about like the file system that it's on and the file system storage limitations and how big can a file be. So, I mean, it gets complicated.
And how big can that hard drive be? And what is the natural process? Is it every 10 days it starts a new recording and it starts overwriting?
Yeah, when does the overwriting happen? How long does
Correct.
stuff sit on that drive?
Right. Is it 10 days? Is it 30 days? Is the system large enough to store that amount of streaming data over the time period? Could that be, I mean, is it properly maintained in a server or a data room that is cooling enough to keep those hard drives from overheating, which can also cause corruption? So, yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into play here when you're managing large streams of data like that.
Yeah. So I think we've presented that DVRs are tricky. Everyone is different. We don't know what it looked like on those hard drives. So I think the next thing to dive into, unless there's anything else on the DVRs that you wanted to mention, Becky,
I
or
think
handling DVR evidence.
Yeah, how we handle it, how it's handled, how it's preserved, how it's managed, how it's transported, what kind of system is it? We talked about an analog system. Is that what kind of system it was? Was it an analog system?
Oh, yes. And this one was analog cameras recording to this DVR system that was recording the videos on hard drives.
Yeah. So that can make a difference too.
Yeah. And you can see that when you watch the video, like it's not super sharp lighting. It's all right. I mean, some of that lighting depends on just your lighting of the areas, but they were slated to start getting a new video camera system sometime new. So I don't know how old it was at this point, but 2019, it certainly was not new, was going to get replaced. So that certainly adds to everything with it being old.
Sure. And also what type of codec was it using? I'm not and will never be a digital forensic examiner expert in DVRs, but I've handled several. And I know the process to be able to get that. What kind of codec was it using? What kind of tool had to be used to review the data? And if any was extracted, what form, what codec was being extracted in, to know, to be able to look at it in another format or in real time. Those are different tools and processes as well.
Yep. And as the examiner, let's not forget, you would document fiercely in your case notes anything and everything that you did in order to get that video off. If you had to try 5, 6 different things, you would document that. And you would certainly document that in your final written report as well. You're going to document the crap out of it.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's move on to the video itself. Now, Becky and I have both watched the video all the way
plus
through
hours.
Becky looks super excited that she got to do that. That was not our intention to do it. And we'll walk you through the rabbit hole we went down and
because we
why
love rabbit holes.
We had to do that. Well, that's the thing. If you're going to be a good digital forensic examiner, you better love rabbit holes, because the answer to one question should do what, Becky?
You do another question or 3 or 4 questions. You should always be curious and inquisitive about what that result produces that leads you down the next. And sometimes you have to go away from the rabbit holes and get to the real meat of the work. But sometimes rabbit holes can lead you to the smoking gun.
They can. And that's why my case notes are kind of like all over the place, because I'll be like, I'm going down this path, shiny object. And so I kind of go down that path for a while because I think it relates to that. And then I'll get halfway down there and I'm like, nope, that's nothing. Or I figure out what it means. And then I kind of go back. And then I have lots of facts all over the place. And then I got to look back from the 10,000-foot view and be like, what does this mean?
Right.
Did I find any answers? Do I have more questions? Does this prove it? Does it disprove it? Is it exculpatory? What have I got here? Or do I still have to go back and look again?
That's exactly right.
And that is kind of what happened here for sure.
That's exactly what happened here. Because we were taking in information. We were taking in information from the OIG report, from the FBI memo. We were watching podcasts that were produced by Wired. We were reading through an article produced by the UK about the metadata of this file. And then we were doing our own hands-on, let's figure out what we can figure out from the raw data that's dropped in this memo.
Yep. Absolutely. And one of the things that I was disappointed with when the FBI memo came out, was it the FBI memo or no, DOJ memo?
Oh, this was the Department of Justice Federal Bureau of Investigation memo.
Okay. But there was not any hash values for
There
the
was
videos.
not. No.
I would have liked a hash value for both, just so when I downloaded it, I made sure I had the right thing downloaded. I don't know. And nobody else has published their hashes that they calculated for it. So, I mean, I have my hash.
Right. And think about it too. I mean, we're talking about people making determinations based on this video that has been provided. And one, how many downloads has happened? And two, did you get the full download? And if you didn't get the full download, does it appear that you got the full download? Because we don't have a hash to match back to, once we downloaded this video, throw it in a hasher and figure out that video hashes, and oh, they provided me the hash, so I know I got a 100% digital fingerprint of that file.
I feel like somebody in FBI CART should have been called in on the authoring of this memo and clearly confirmed or denied or whatever about the raw video. And then they should have said, you know what would be a great idea? Let's put some hashes in here for everybody.
That's how we download our tools. We download our tools. We know that we're downloading the right tool. Sometimes we're even downloading evidence. And what are we doing? We're comparing the hash once we get the evidence into our possession to make sure that we are not missing anything that would be detrimental to the downloading, because something could not come down clearly, and a hash would make sure that it would prove that you had 100% the file.
And I think the way everything happened, the memo was released, the links were there, people downloaded the videos. And then I think the first thing that was said about it was, hey, there's a 1 minute, 2-second gap right before midnight.
Yes.
And then Bondi came back and said that's due to the DVR system boot. She said that in a long roundabout way. I don't know who explained that to her, but they should have given her a better definition and analogy, because she kind of rambled on through that. So that's kind of the first thing that happened. So now everybody's like, oh, 62 seconds is missing. And then I think from that, everybody just dived in harder and deeper. And then it got worse.
Right. And that whole 1 minute and 2 seconds reboot is at the end of the day, at the end of one day, the start of a new day. Again, how it's configured within right. We don't know how those DVR configuration settings are set up. Is it configured that way, or is somebody up there going reboot?
Yeah.
Restart.
The next sort of stuff that came out about it was the created date. And people are looking at the modified dates and times in the metadata. So they're getting a created date and a modified date from May of 2025. And I'm not going to...
That was just a few months ago.
Yeah, just a few months ago. Now, Key, if we were looking at the raw data, what date would we expect to see? Or perhaps what year?
Well, it certainly would not be this year if we were looking at the raw data. If we were looking at the raw data, we would be looking at something around 8/9, 8/10, 2019.
Yes, that's what we're looking for. So, and that's kind of right there at the top of the metadata. So people are looking at that and they're like, 2025, what is that? So then they continue to scroll down and then they find it's not one video, but two videos in this video that has made this one big video. There's two little videos in there that is making that up. And those videos also have file names from 2025. And we'll screen share some of that stuff. But so now there's two more videos named after, month, day, year, hour, minute, second. And, that's kind of indicative of something happening right then. Maybe you start a screen capture, maybe you start an export. There's lots of things that default to the current date and time. However, none of this should have been done in 2025. Somebody should have went to evidence, pulled the stuff out from evidence control, all the stuff they gathered in 2019, made more copies, did whatever they had to do with that. So they're going through that. They're finding a bunch of editing time. And then it gets even worse because they are finding somebody who is editing this. And let me see if I can find it in my notes. I mean, I have it in my notes, but it's a matter of scrolling through like 20 pages of notes to find it for you all. But, and this has been everywhere on the internet. There was, in Windows, there's the user path. And so typically when you're saving your files, you're going to see something like the whole long path, C:\users, \username, like documents, \, and then the name of the file with the extension. And so like my username on a system might be Stacey Eldridge. But in this system, we're not seeing sort of like your first name, last name. We're seeing MJ Cole ~1. Becky, what's the significance of seeing a username with that ~1 in it?
It's a short file name.
It's a short file name.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It normally, it is referencing that short file name is a link to a long file name.
Yeah. So, and are we typically seeing short file names being used in Windows systems, whether you're on Windows 10 in 2019, or even if you went back to Windows 7, would you have seen short file names if you're working? Yeah. So that's really weird. That's like, you might see it in some apps you're using in a DOS from the command prompt sort of situation, but that's weird. That is an 8.3 version name.
8.3. Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of. The 8.3 is referencing the short file name. And because you can only have 8 characters and then the .3, the tilde is there in place to say this, this is a longer file name.
Yep. And so it just goes, it cuts it off. And then at 6, and then you get 7, 8, tilde is 7, and 8 is like the 1 or the 2 or whatever. Right. So we don't know who MJ Cole ... It could be Coleman, but we don't know who that is. We don't know where they work, but somebody who was making this video had that username directory that they were saving this project into. And so that's kind of all of the information that's been out there. They're like, we've got stuff from 2025 created and modified dates. We got 2 different files into it, also with names from 2025. And then we've got a name in here, and the project extension made everybody know that it was Adobe Premiere. So we know all of that, but we go into it, we're looking at the metadata. And then we see that there's these 2 different videos in there. And as any good forensic examiner will do, we've got to account for all the things. So whether it's all the space on the hard drive or all the time in the video, we start to do that. And so this is kind of where the rabbit hole begins. And I'm going to share my screen so you guys can kind of walk through some of that stuff as well. So if we look inside the video and we're looking at the timestamps, it begins precisely on August 9, 2019 at 7:40 p.m. And then the end timestamp is 8/10/2019 at 6:40 a.m. So here we are, exactly 11 hours of video in video1.mp4. It was about a 20 gig download. Now I go in and look at the metadata, this EXIF metadata, and I use EXIF tool, and I got some other stuff I'll show you where I give the version and stuff. But it says the duration of this video is not 11 hours. It says it's 10 hours, 52 minutes, 24 seconds. Now, we know there's 1 minute and 2 seconds of video missing, and that nightly reboot was at 11:58:58. Now, the first duration of the video from the first section before the video reboot is at 4 hours, 16 minutes, 23 seconds, and it ends at a specific frame that I've got documented here. And then we go on and I calculate how long is it from when the video picks back up exactly at midnight, and then when does that end. Now, on the time remaining indicates that it was only 6 hours and 36 minutes, where it should have been 6 hours and 40 minutes, because from midnight to 6:40 a.m. is how long, Becky?
6 hours and 40 minutes.
Exactly. So this is where I start freaking out, because Wired had reported, they think about 3 minutes of video is missing. And I'm like, I don't have 3 minutes of video. I have it. I'm doing all of this math, right? As a forensic examiner, you're still going to have to do math. So I'm going like, when does it start? When does it end? I'm doing all the calculations of the time differences. And I'm like, there is 6 minutes and 34 seconds of video missing. What the heck is going on here? So this is where the rabbit hole begins. So Becky, when I told you that, what did you think?
I thought, did we miscalculate? I thought, did our tool produce the right information? So there's a lot of things that run through your mind as a forensic examiner. Like,
Is Stacy just adding and subtracting wrong?
Well,
and that could be it too, right?
I mean, right. So I start using my fingers and my toes and I'm like, okay, 1, 2, 3, go back to elementary. And it sends you into this adrenaline pumping. Let me figure out why there's a miscalculation here.
Yeah, that's what we're thinking for sure. So we're going through, double checking the math on the first part of the video, the second part of the video, adding it all together. And we're checking between what the EXIF metadata is reporting. We're checking what we're seeing on the screen, because when you're playing it, I was using Media Player Classic. It has a very nice countdown of like how much is remaining total, all of that sort of stuff. And it's all matching up. And then I'm like, well, let's go back and try to figure out, how did Wired come up with almost 3 minutes of video missing? They don't disclose how they figured it out anywhere. I can't find anybody else. I do see a couple other people that have reported metadata out there with some of their findings backing up. And they say, I agree with Wired that almost 3 minutes of video is missing. So we've double checked the math, and this is where we go. We've got to watch the video, because we don't know where it's missing from. And sometimes that's just what you have to do. You have to watch videos all the way through. It doesn't, and this happens in all sorts of crimes and different cases. You may have to watch the video all the way through. So we're splitting it up. We're watching through it. Becky took the first half. I took the second half. And then we kind of skimmed through it all together anyways. And we're not finding anything. I'm like getting almost to the end. I'm like, there should be 4 minutes missing from the second half. I've got 2 hours left and I'm only missing 2 minutes, but I never saw anything missing from the screen, because it's got the clock going the whole time. So you can see. And then we were like, well, are they doing movie magic? I mean, we got ridiculous with our theories of like, what are we missing? What did they do? How complicated, was this something from Mission Impossible?
Right.
Did they swap out the video and there was this overlay and it wasn't any of that. So what we figured out that it was, and I don't need to share my screen for this, is so then I started doing more math, and I'm like, let's think about the frames in the video. If you're not familiar with the video, this one, and is common with most videos in the United States, a frame is basically like your single still picture. And in a video, you're going to have 29.97 frames per second. So almost 30 individual images go by in a single second.
Yep.
So now we're doing more math.
Right.
And I'm like, how many frames are in this video? There are 1,212,196.59 and some change frames in this video. And then I go, okay, how much video do we think is missing? 6 minutes and 34 seconds from almost an 11-hour video. And that is 11,808.18 frames potentially missing. And I go, I wonder what the loss rate is. This is why I'm doing this. And then so I divide, the 11,808 and change frames by the total number of frames, which is over 1.2 million. And I get a loss rate of 0.97%, less than 1%.
Yep.
And so I look it up. I do some research. What's an acceptable loss rate of frames when I'm dealing with analog video recordings?
Yep.
And the acceptable rate of loss is between 1 and 5%. And there's all sorts of things that can account for why you're dropping some frames. So we're below 1%. So we've kind of ended it there. All right. We're good. We've got a logical explanation backed by, actual numbers and things that we can calculate from the video itself. But we're still stuck with, why does Wired say there's 3 minutes of video missing? Okay, you guys are going to have to buckle up because I'm going to drive you through the EXIF metadata to show you all the things we looked at in there, really digging through it. Okay, are you ready, Becky?
Let's go.
All right, let's do it. Okay, sorry, I'm at the bottom.
It's okay. And let's remind, we are telling our listeners the tool that we used is EXIF tool version 13.29.64. That's the most current version. And Phil Harvey is the author of EXIF tool. It's a free open source tool. It's one of the best tools out there for reading metadata. It digs deeper than just what is on the surface of metadata. If you're going to use a tool to dig deep and learn more information about anything, EXIF tool is the tool that we recommend.
Yes. And this will give you way more than just right clicking and like viewing the properties. You can get a lot of stuff out of there, but this is going to give you a lot more, especially when it comes to video. And if you're watching, I've even got 3 different versions of the commands that I ran on my screen, trying to get the most out of it because different commands result in different data being saved in there. So I have at the beginning, and I've got just snippets of it because I'm trying to put this in a fashion of as I was thinking through it. So we see here right at the beginning, the created and modified dates of this project that is recorded in here. And it lists the creator tool as Adobe Media Encoder. Now, that is the encoding engine that is making the video a video from whatever you're putting into the project. Now, either Premiere Pro or After Effects, they both use this same encoder. Now, you've probably been hearing people say, well, it's Premiere Pro. How do they know that? Well, if you scroll down, and this was kind of it was at the very bottom of the metadata collected. Here is where we get the good stuff. It gives you the Windows Atom extension, which is .prproj. And this also shares where we have the username, the MJ Cole till day 1. You see the temp directory that this is being worked on. And again, you see the extension here. So this is why we know it's Adobe Premiere Pro. And then we've got some more times in here created in modified date. And the other thing that you're looking for this, because some of these dates and times and information are stored in here through different tags in the EXIF data. And so you're going to be looking for these to be matching along the way. And we consistently see that created a modified date, created on the 20th 3rd, modified on the 24th. And these dates and times here are in UTC. So don't think somebody was up working late in the middle of the night on this one. And anyways, we also have a duration, very long number. It's in seconds, so you've got to get it into hours and minutes. And again, that is the 10 hours, 52 minutes. It's matching. Here we've got some more information about the track data. Because this was produced in a project, there is just one track. There is one stream. And so here you see where this one track, not the project, the track was created. Now you've got more numbers here, and this is where I really had to start digging in, trying to figure out where is 3 minutes missing from. So you have the duration value. This duration value right here, 3522945426, this is an internal time units value for Adobe. And you have to use the value below it, 1.11111, to do the conversion to figure out how long it is, which I have done here. And that's just another fancy way of saying this video is 10 hours, 52 minutes, and 17 seconds long.
And you confirm that through this EXIF data.
Yep. And I was like, taking this number, times it by this number, using the old calculator and making sure everything is still matching up, because I can't eyeball this and figure out what the heck it means. And there is all sorts of documentation out there from Adobe of what all of this stuff is and what it means and how to convert it. So I wasn't just like, oh, this supports my narrative. I was looking all this stuff up in the different documentation sources. So don't think we did this in 15 minutes. I feel like
I feel like you did that
10 hours.
I feel like you did, between you and I having conversations over the last 2 or 3 days. I feel like you did it many times, and our conversations going back and forth and what is the acceptable loss rate? Well, the acceptable loss rate is this. And how are you getting to that conclusion? So it wasn't like we just came up with this. It was a lot of research went into this.
Yep. As does every episode, but this one was heavier because there's no case notes, written reports, no court transcript. This is just what, we had some other people and some information that they've released out there, but this is really us acting as forensic examiners, working like, if you gave me this evidence, regardless of the side I was working for, I would be digging into all this stuff, especially once I found like missing times. This is supposedly raw, but there's 2 videos that were made into one video. So I'm trying to figure out what the heck happened, so I could go back and then demand the right stuff. But let's continue down more of this metadata. So there's this tracks markers start time, and you see below it, the tracks markers type is a comment. I don't know what the comment is, but it's what it says. At that tracks markers, they put a comment in. You have to divide that by the frames per second of the video and do more math. And so this marker was put in at 4 hours, 17 minutes, and 59 seconds into the first video chunk. Now we're getting into pantry values. We've got these pantry duration values. I've got them both listed here. Sorry, it cuts over on the pages, but the second video, which depicts from midnight till 6:40 in the morning, is listed first, and then the video that starts on the night of the 9th is the second one listed here. But they have these pantry duration values. These pantry duration values, and it took me freaking forever. It wasn't until like 5 p.m. tonight, this is Wednesday night, that I finally figured out these silly pantry duration values. Bane of my existence. The pantry duration states how long the video file is, or whatever the file was that was put into it. In this project, it was video files. And the scale, the number below it, indicates milliseconds. And so to figure out how long it is, you have to take the duration value multiplied by the duration scale to calculate it all. So I've got it all here for you in a nice little chart. And it says and why I didn't rearrange it, my apologies. But so the video that goes from midnight to 6:40 a.m., it says its duration is 6 hours, 36 minutes, and 1 second long, which matches what I calculated out from the video player from start to end. So that's all there. All that video is there. Then the other video file, which runs from 7:40 p.m. until it cuts off just before midnight, is 4 hours and 19 minutes long and 16 seconds. And then if you add those values up, you're coming up with 10 hours, 55 minutes, and 17 seconds. However, how long is our video 1.mp4, Becky?
10 hours, 52 minutes, and 17 seconds.
So now we have a difference of 2 minutes, 59 seconds, and a little bit of change. Now, I went back and I was trying to figure out, okay, so there is 3 minutes missing. I really wanted to figure out where they were missing from. So I was like, well, let's go to where that marker was set, because somebody could have put that marker there to cut something out. So that marker was at 4 hours, 17 minutes, and 59 seconds,
Correct.
which is 1 minute and 17 seconds before the end of the pantry duration. So I'm like, okay, so a little bit before the end of this video, maybe they cut it off. Like, is it ending? Like, they cut it there, and that's why it cuts off at 11:58. But then even if I add up the 1 minute and the 2 seconds gone for the reboot, I'm only up to 2 minutes and 20 seconds of video missing. So there's another 40 seconds worth of video missing here. We watched the video, so it's not missing in between anywhere. There's nothing cut from the middle of it. It doesn't seem like there was. So even if you're cutting off 1 minute and 2 seconds for the reboot in the middle of the night, because maybe something happened, that's what the conspiracy theorists are saying. The smoking gun happened, right during the video cutoff. It's still not accounting for all of the video that's missing. So it seems to me the only thing left at this point, since we watched everything, and remember the video starts exactly at 7:40. I'm thinking they probably cut it off at the beginning of the video.
Yep. Yeah. And again, it goes back to, this is not the raw video. This is someone preparing the video to upload or to share with the community, so that the DOJ and the FBI are very transparent. This is someone preparing that in a program that can be uploaded and downloaded. So the time difference, we all know when you copy and you paste and you move things around and you use other tools and it's not raw data, that small changes can occur.
Right. And it's evident in the video because you can see, like, it's clearly got to be a screen recording, which is documented by several things. You can see, like, the player controls in the upper right hand corner. You can see a mouse moving around. You can see the aspect ratio change from before and after. So even say somehow those 2 videos that were put into the project were the raw videos, because whatever, their names are their names for whatever reason of 2025. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt as we have this conversation. They should have just released 2 videos. Be like, because of the reboot, we're going to have 2 videos to show you everything from those nights. And then we put them all into one video when we edited it in video 2.mp4 to make it sharper and brighter. That's what I would have expected to see. Like 2 raw videos and then a cleaned up video that consisted of the 2 raw videos. But this is not evidence. This is not the raw data.
It's the facts.
There's nothing pointing to this being handled in a forensically sound matter. I don't know who did this, but I wouldn't have expected to see this come out from somebody in CART. This would not have been like what they would have turned over for discovery. Now, sometimes there's communication issues clearly between case agents, attorneys on both sides. And so maybe say I got this as part of discovery, then I'd go back and be like, this is a nice work product, but I need the 2 raw videos. So then I would ask for those 2 raw videos. And if I knew it was from 2019, I would have been like, well, what evidence do you have from 2019 that I can look at in this case?
Top of that, we would ask for the hashes. Like, hey,
Yes.
how was this data prepared? What is the hash value? We want to verify the integrity of the data. We want to verify the integrity of the file. So absolutely. And that is, again, no ill intent. It just was not preserved properly when we talk about the methodology process in digital forensics. And maybe it was preserved and the raw data is the raw data, but this is not the raw footage. This is prepared for the public using a specific tool, Adobe Pro Premiere.
Yep. This is just work product, something
It
nice
is.
to look at, easy to share, easy to distribute.
We always talk about our derivative. You have your original evidence, digital evidence, and then you have that derivative. And the derivative is prepared data for your personnel that's going to be utilizing it, whether that be attorneys just, turned over in discovery or whatever. And it's clearly labeled as derivative. And that in this situation, I would have expected this to be said instead of it say the full raw and enhanced videos, the derivative of the videos.
Yeah. Or they could have just said a screen capture. This is a screen capture because of the way the DVR is and it being so old and stupid. We had to make a screen capture.
Absolutely. And on top of that, again, there's nothing from our analysis that says that there is anything missing with ill intent. It was just prepared that way for the public.
Yeah. But unfortunately, it has spiraled out of control because people did what we did. We're disclosing what we're doing so you guys can retrace our steps, and I'll put something somewhere so you can follow this more closely. But I think there's some lessons learned out of this that you can take to heart as a new forensic examiner, or if you're wanting to become a forensic examiner. What are a couple of your key takeaways here, Becky, as we get to wrapping up?
Yeah, going back to always be mindful of when you're preparing or preserving, collecting, identifying that evidence. Document. Be very mindful and clear about what you're documenting, what you're collecting, how you're preserving that. Don't call it raw data, call it best evidence or derivative of that original, and also ask to be able to produce the results of what you did. Document your tools, document your versions, because I feel what you and I have done for this episode, another examiner could come behind us, download the videos, follow the EXIF tool process, download the EXIF tool, follow that, and get the same results by understanding all of that. So that's my takeaways.
Yep. And let's see, I think the other key takeaway here is communication is key. Maybe some of this mess happened because of the miscommunication of what raw meant.
Correct.
So at the end of the day, we don't see any missing 3 minutes in the middle of the video anywhere. There is a little bit of frames being lost over time, but there's not like where the timestamp is rolling, nothing is lost. There's just slowly some frames dropping here and there. Less than 1% of the frames were dropped. Now, if you've watched this,
expected.
You have something completely contrary, you found something that we missed, please reach out and we will just continue down this rabbit hole because we're here to present the facts and share the facts every single time.
That's right. So until then, stay safe, stay sharp, and as always, keep parsing the truth one bite at a time.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow us to be notified when the next episode drops. And if you can do more, Parsing the Truth is a nonprofit organization, and we are raising money to send one lucky digital forensic examiner to IASIS training in the spring in Orlando next year. Head over to parsingthetruth.com to donate by clicking on the donate button for your tax-deductible donation. Thanks.